what happened offensively in the second half? You guys looked like you came out humming, and then it just sort of came to a halt.
Yeah, I mean, second half, you just look back on it, and we just couldn't get anything going. Came out, a couple 3-and-outs to start, and it was really disappointing. I think after the first half we played, being able to drive the ball down and score, it seemed like every time. I just got to go back and look at it, but yeah, I mean, it's just lack of execution and finding ways to make plays that really just hurt us.
Do you think you had trouble sorting out their pressures in the second half?
Yeah, I think we didn't do as good of a job, picking that stuff up, and it kind of hurt us, not being able to, pick those up and make those big plays down the field. So, yeah, it's something that, like I mentioned before, we'll look at, but it definitely hurt us.
On the play with 7 seconds left, when the snap gets dropped, are you trying, and Matt had mentioned that you might have been trying to go to some outside play there to pick up 8-10 yards. Was that the plan on that play, just to pick up a quick 8-10 if they gave you the coverage you wanted, or was that play always going to be a shot play into the end zone?
No, we had a play called, to be able to take a shot to the end zone, and then, depending on the coverage they were playing, how soft they were, try and pick up a easy couple yards of sideline. So that's what we went to. And, yeah, when I fumbled the snap and, couldn't get that, it kind of turned into last-second Hail Mary.
Matt just said that the team as a whole needs to do a better job staying composed, and he said you guys were disheveled. We've heard a lot. You guys are still young, but you have that playoff experience. Why do you think that this team doesn't have that composure in some of these big moments still?
Yeah, I don't think we don't have the composure. I think it's just a situation we put ourselves in, jumping out to a lead and doing what we wanted in the first half, and then second half kind of a completely different story. So, I think for any team that's going to be frustrating, and you got to find ways to be able to, overcome that and, get back to it. And I think we did, but it was just a little too late. But I think it's just part of the situation we put ourselves in.
Jordan, we always say that the quarterback gets too much credit and too much blame. When you do what you did tonight, you did a lot of really, really good things. And you have the staff that's probably killing you. How do you walk out of here tonight feeling personally and as a team?
Oh man, it's tough and very disappointing. I think everybody in that locker room feels the same way. We had a game where we couldn't finish it and let a team come back and beat us. So it's very disappointing to end the season on a note like that. So yeah, everybody's very disappointed. I'm very disappointed. That's it.
Jordan, when a season ends the way it has with the losses and then tonight, a lot of times changes happen. I don't know what they'll be. But are you ready for what might come next? I mean, these kinds of losses, a lot of times they have really far-reaching ramifications.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, jump to any conclusions or anything, but we'll see what happens going forward. And I mean, that's the case for every, end of the season and going into the off season. That's always the case. So, we'll see, what, if anything comes forward, if anything. So we'll see.
Do you think Matt should remain the coach of this team, and why do you think that is so?
Yeah, I definitely think Matt should be the head coach. I got a lot of love for Matt. I think he does a great job, and that's it.
What does this team need then, Jordan, to take the next step?
Got to win games like this. You got to take advantage of games. You jump out to a 21-3 lead. You got to find ways to finish that and be better all around and just finish.
So how do you accomplish that? Do you need some better players, better play calls? It's easy to say go up there and win, but how do you get that accomplished?
Yeah, you get back to work. It all comes down to execution.
You guys obviously played the Bears twice this year. Both games came right down to the wire. You and Matt both talked about in the second half of this game they brought more pressure, that changed some things. Would you, having seen them already twice, were you guys caught off guard by any of that? Any different pressures you hadn't gotten from them to this point? Was there anything that was unexpected in the third and fourth quarters from your perspective that hurt you guys offensively?
No, I don't think anything unexpected. I think they did a good job, obviously, kind of adjusting the scheme that they had first half. And, we didn't do a good enough job at, picking up their adjustments that they made and finding ways to take advantage of that the way we did in the first half. And that's every game you come into. You do good things in the first half, and team's going to make adjustments. And we didn't do a good enough job overcoming that stuff, and I think we just hurt ourselves too many times.
Jordan, it's obviously a really tough situation in the locker room. What do you say as a leader? What do the other people say who are leaders of the team to try and help you guys think forward and all the things you guys did today?
Man, not much is said right now. Everybody knows what the situation is. It's disappointing. We let one get away from us. So not much is said. We'll get back to it and go from there. Attack the off season. The same message that comes with any off season is trying to find ways to get better and get back to work. But it's very disappointing right now.
What happened on the delay of game coming out of the timeout? 3rd and 10, I think, in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I can't even really process it right now. But I just think we didn't. I can't even process it right now. Obviously, we just had miscommunication and weren't able to get the playoff. Yeah.
What's your overall take on this season? Was it a good season?
I think we did some good stuff. I think there's highs and lows this season. We played well, and then we played not very well. We dropped a couple games that I think we had, and I think obviously ending the season the way we did is just disappointing. I think you look back on it, I think we did some good stuff in the NFC North and improved, and that was something that we was a goal for ours coming into the season after what we did the year before. But I still think there's more room. I think we could have done a lot better. I think we had a chance to win the division, and we let it go. And I think there's obviously there's some other games that were disappointing, but just highs and lows. Not consistent enough, and I think we just got to find ways to get back after it and improve. And I think it starts with trying to win the NFC North. We got to do that.
It's obviously still fresh, but trying to look forward, what does the offseason look like for you? What are maybe some of the biggest things that you want to accomplish in the offseason?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. It's too early. We'll see. Obviously, just get back to work training. Break down the film of tonight, of the whole season as a whole, and I think as every offseason is trying to see what we did well, see what we didn't do as well, and find ways to just keep getting better. But yeah.
What did you think of Matthew Golden's night?
I think he did some really good things. I think his touchdown catch was one of the more impressive plays of the season. And so I think he had a good night. He made plays when the ball came his way, and that's all he can do. So we'll find ways to keep getting him going.
Two more. Aaron used to say about NFC Championship games, we got to get one at home. You're 3 years in, you still haven't played a home playoff game as the starter. You guys have to be better during the regular season, so you're not in this number 7 seed, go on the road all the time mode.
Yeah, I think if you go out and win the division, you won't be in that situation. You'll have some home games. So yeah, it's an area we got to improve on as well. We got to be better throughout the season. We got to find ways to win the close games and just not drop any games on the season. But it all comes down to beating everybody in the NFC North.
Jordan, where do you need to be better next year? What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of areas. I think just being more consistent as a passer, keep understanding every situation I'm put in, and how to be the best quarterback I can be for the team. But yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff I'll look at to keep improving on. But I think it always just comes down to being as consistent as possible.